Greetings, humans! Welcome to the end of episode 1. I hope you managed to enjoy your sojourn in the Ushinomiya mansion. After all, you endured such a horrific time there. So, in order to unwind, you are hereby invited to a tea party in which we will discuss some theories as well as the epitaph over tea. So stay seated and let me pour you some tea. I hope black tea is alright. And let's get started. Alright, let me ditch that voice. The introduction is a bit embarrassing, but kind of fitting. Anyway, let me just start by sharing with you my thoughts. So, initially when I first got into Umineko, I didn't have much expectations going into it. All I knew was that it was very, very long, and it is a murder mystery. And up to this point, I've never really played any murder mystery games unless you count Ace Attorney, but that's kind of different too. But anyway, thank you so much for sticking with me so far. Really enjoyed episode 1, especially the voice acting throughout it, because it's so phenomenal. Battler was very lively and silly, and I think it was perfectly conveyed through the voice acting. And I think the very fact that Eva's drawn-out way of speaking gets on my nerves is also a testament to how good she was portrayed. The entire episode 1 was really thrilling and exciting, but I think things really started picking up when the first murder started, or actually, it started heating up the moment Rudolph mentioned that he was going to be murdered, which is something I'm still thinking about often. And the last chapter, the subchapter, we have Maria's notebook, pages in a wine bottle. I got immense chills when I was reading it. I can't believe Maria recorded the entire thing, and she had time to stuff it in a wine bottle before she died. It's hard to imagine what will happen next. Whether we will have like a sequel to episode 1, as in what happens in the future, or are we going to go back to the past and explore the events leading up to episode 1? In both scenarios, I think it's interesting, but from Maria's notebook, pages in a wine bottle, it does suggest, it sounds like that is the end. I really want to know what happens next though. Welcome to the epitaph. Well, I've read it again and again, and honestly, I still don't really understand. All I know is that since we already started on the killings, the sacrifices, then I wonder if it means that someone has already found the key and is conducting these sacrifices. My own interpretation of this is likely completely wrong, but let me share with you what I thought. Because the image of a sweet fish river for some reason just brings to mind a red stream. And red stream equals blood. So, and maybe running through my beloved home of old might be a person's bloodline. And then the path downstream is traveling up or down that person's bloodline. And maybe the answer is actually a person. That's what I'm thinking. But I feel like it's completely wrong. But you know what? I'm just gonna throw it out there. I feel like the key is likely not an actual key. It could be like a person, or it could be something not tangible at all, like a feeling. And maybe that's why there isn't a precise location marked out in the epitaph, because you never know where the person would be, or you can't exactly mark down a feeling. So there's that. In the end, I don't know how much the epitaph will play a role in the story, but I think it's fun to just talk about it. In fact, leave your comments down below. What do you think the epitaph is about when you first started reading this? Well, now let's look at some theories. According to the epitaph, I've identified 3 reasons for wanting to solve the riddle / revive Beatrice. Number 1, gold. Everyone is in debt. The wealthy Ushinomiya family is no exception. So of course, if you're desperate enough, you might try to solve that riddle. In Krause's case, he already knew that the legend of the gold is true, so he might have the strongest desire to solve that riddle. While the others openly deny the existence of the gold, they still, however, might secretly believe in it. In any case, if you're desperate enough for some money, solving the riddle and sacrificing your loved ones and enemies might just do it for you. Number 2. Love. As identified by Beatrice herself, Maria wants the lost love of a mother and possibly father. And another interesting one would be Natsuhi and the love between her and Jessica, because it's very clear that she cares deeply for Jessica despite their somewhat cold and rocky relationship. The last reason, number 3, dead, resurrecting the dead. The last reason would be this, although it just might be the byproduct of everyone having died in the first place. This is just one of the 4 treasures that Beatrice would bestow. And in any case, there isn't anyone in this category that I could identify. But that's it for the 3 reasons why I think someone would commit the murders. Next up, let's look at some of the possible culprits. For the theories, let me give you the most easiest, straightforward, and simple answer. The answer is, the culprit is, that 19th person is Beatrice. That's right, Miss Beatrice, who has shown herself to us. She is that 19th person. And she is the one who killed everyone. That is the simplest answer. Everything was done by a witch, nothing human whatsoever. She is the culprit. Why? Well, she could be collecting interest like she mentioned in the first letter, and hence everyone died and no one was revived in the end. Although they might be revived in the next episode. Alternatively, perhaps someone has solved the riddle, and thus the sacrifices were carried out in that order. But since no one revived, still, I think no one solved that riddle. But if Beatrice is not the culprit, or not the sole culprit, then let me present you a very complicated multiple culprits theory, in which, in the first case, we have the 6 sacrifices. Who could have done it? There are 2 to 3 people that could have done it. 1, it could have been Natsuhi. Natsuhi didn't have an alibi during that moment. I believe she was in the room because of her headache. So she wasn't there or wasn't accounted for when the murders went down. Number 2 could have been Hideyoshi and Eva. They didn't have an alibi at the time. For the same reason as Natsuhi. Number 3, Rudolph and maybe Kirie. Why Rudolph? Rudolph's just immediately suspicious because of his premonition. He thought, or he said to Battler that he was going to be murdered. Why? Why did he say that? How did he know? And if he did carry out the murders, why kill himself? Well, maybe it's to remove himself from the pool of suspects. His face was completely smashed, right? Maybe he didn't actually kill himself, but had a substitute body there. Because no one could have really identified him if they couldn't tell from his face. Well, later on, you could say dental records and whatnot could identify whether it truly was him, but according to Maria's pages or record, there isn't any mention of that, so we don't know. Number 2, the second murder would be Eva and Hideyoshi. For this, well, it's a locked room with a chain, so that makes things very hard. A lot of possible suspects are now removed from the pool, and, well, in this case, I mentioned before that I was leaning towards one of them having killed each other, or both of them, basically, in the room. So in this case, you wouldn't need someone from the outside coming in to kill them. Initially, I mentioned maybe Hideyoshi killed Eva, but now I'm leaning more towards Eva killing Hideyoshi and then herself, because given the way the events unfolded, she was wearing shoes. She was wearing shoes when she died. This is my most confusing point, because if they planned on staying in that room the entire time and not leaving whatsoever, would you not take off your shoes and try to relax? Why would you still have your shoes on? Yet Eva, on her deathbed, quite literally, she had shoes on still. But Hideyoshi was in the bathroom, he was taking a shower, so he was in the most vulnerable state. I just can't imagine Hideyoshi might have killed Eva first and then went to take a shower and try to stage a crime scene like this. So here I'm pointing fingers at Eva. Maybe she left the room when Hideyoshi was in a shower to go grab a weapon. That's why she has shoes on, and then she could come back, lock the room, and put on a chain again, and then stab Hideyoshi then herself. That could be possible. Alternatively, as all things can be explained, we can use Beatrice's magic to explain their death. She did demonstrate it to us during the tea party, so maybe it's completely possible. In the next scenario, we have Kinzo. So, Kinzo's one is narrowed down to just one person at the moment. It's Natsuhi. As Eva pointed out, Natsuhi could have been the one to push Kinzo out of the window, and then maybe she stabbed him in the forehead afterwards, then dumped him in the incinerator. Of course, though, I don't believe he is dead. Why? To recap, his unique characteristics of having 6 toes was just purposefully displayed for everyone to see. It was just conveniently still intact even though the rest of his body was burnt. That's just suspicious on its own. His body was so badly burnt to the point where you couldn't even tell it was him unless you look at his clothes. And strange enough, he wasn't wearing shoes. Why is he not wearing shoes? Eva was wearing shoes when she died on the bed, but Kinzo, who is in his study or possibly walking around the mansion, is not wearing his shoes. He's obsessed with Western ideals, right? Wouldn't he want to emulate everything to that extent? Wouldn't he want to wear shoes around the house? So it doesn't really make sense to me that he's not wearing shoes, unless someone took off his shoes and tried to purposely display that, hey, it's Kinzo, this is definitely Kinzo. Don't try and say it's not Kinzo, because it is. Look at his 6 toes. But remember that polydactyly is inherited. It can be inherited. So my theory is that someone tried to pretend Kinzo is dead. And who better to pretend that he is dead than Kinzo himself, to remove himself from the pool of suspects? Kinzo is the one who put his body there. He is the person that left through the boiler room door. It's possible that a body might have been taken from the storehouse. I don't know if Kraus or Rudolph or even Goda might have 6 toes, but if they do, then one of them could easily replace Kinzo's so-called body here. The last one is canon. This one is the most mysterious one because we saw everything unfold, right? He stabbed himself. But we know he wouldn't stab himself on his own volition, right? I think perhaps the witch used her magic to stab himself. But if this cannot be explained through magic, then possible human culprits, there are 2 of them. One, Kumasawa, she didn't have a solid alibi at that time, and the second one would be the person that they were initially chasing. This one, I would chalk it up to Beatrice. We have the last 3 murders, all occurring in the parlor with Maria. If what I said before is true, that let's say Kinzo faked his death, Rudolph faked his death, then there are at least 2 more people out there, 2 to 3 more people out there who is wandering around without being accounted for. So it could have been Beatrice, it could have been Rudolph, Kinzo, even Maria herself. who killed everyone in the parlor. The last point that I wanted to talk about was what do I think is going on based on episode 1 itself. Well, I don't fully understand the story of what Umineko as a whole is about yet. I think episode 1 is like a little teaser to the rest of the chapters, and I'm just really excited to see how it's going to unfold from here on. But I think that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a like, subscribe if you want to. Let me know what your theories were when you first started playing this game. I'll see you next time. Bye! Alright everybody, welcome to the bonus round. This is Lorelei's game show, and the name of this game show is Are You an Asshole? This is just a disclaimer, but this is just for fun, and it's solely my opinion based on the events thus far. Let's start with our favorite master of the house, Kinzo. I think it is pretty obvious where to put him. He is a horrible parent, has likely caused trauma to his kids. No, definitely caused trauma to his kids. And even his grandchildren find him creepy. Well, it's obvious he should be in the asshole tier, but I made a special tier for him, and it's called Unforgivable. Next, we have Kraus. This is an easy pick. He's an asshole. He's an asshole just from the way he treats Natsuhi. He's an asshole. Next, we have Natsuhi. Oh man. The thing about Natsuhi is, I really enjoyed her character development towards the end of episode 1. She went from this kind of annoying lady who had such a bad attitude towards like Shannon particularly, because she had, I understand Natsuhi cares about her appearance, and rightfully so, because everything that happens in the mansion is judged by how they act or how they come across. So I would put Natsuhi in the asshole tier because of the way she treated the servants, particularly Shannon. Yeah, everyone has their bad days, everyone has things that they care about. Still doesn't give you a reason or an excuse to act like an asshole to other people. So Natsuhi, sorry, I like you as a character at the end of episode 1, but you're still an asshole. So next up we have Jessica. Now Jessica, she hasn't done anything yet, so I think it's easy. I'll just put her in not asshole. She was quite nice. I remember she stood up for Kennen, and well, in retrospect, maybe it's because she likes Kennen. Now for Eva. This is an easy one. Asshole for me, because she is so mean to Natsuhi for like no reason. Then we have Hideyoshi. I will probably put him not asshole. He is quite nice and respectful to the other adults and the kids as well. So, not asshole. He's nice enough. For George, I think easy enough. He's the nicest one so far. George, not an asshole. He's quite nice. Rudolph, to be honest, he actually hasn't done anything so far. So, not an asshole. Even though him and Battler likes to fight with each other a lot, it's kind of like playful fighting, so not asshole. Kyrie, also not asshole. She's very nice. She tried to help Shannon out when she was in a pickle. Ooh, in a pickle. Who says that anymore? Anyway, she helped Shannon out. So, not asshole. Battler, also not an asshole. Do I need to explain? He tries to lift up everyone's mood, and honestly, he even calmed me down when Maria was getting too creepy with the dialogues. So, Battler, not an asshole. Rosa, oh Rosa, do I need to explain her? If you think I'm gonna put her in asshole category, you're wrong, because I made the unforgivable category for her. Well, that's less Kinzo. Maria, oh, Maria is hard, because for the most part, she was rather nice. Now that I'm thinking back on it, was she really nice? She didn't really do anything, because she's like a young child. But you know what? Her creepy dialogues and her acting so cryptic and ruining, or more like making everyone feel even more anxious throughout the story, I'm gonna put her in asshole for now. Nanjo's easy. He's quite nice. He's nice. So nothing to say there. When Natsuhi was chasing everyone out, he just took it in stride and he was like, yeah, if that's what you want, then I'll understand. I'll leave. So I think that was really selfless of him as well. Genji as well, he did the same thing, so yes, not an asshole. Shannon also, she tries her best, so not an asshole. Kenen's not an asshole, even though he comes across as an asshole. But you can tell that he really cares for the people in his life, like Shannon and Genji, when he got angry on their behalf. Haha, Goda! Goda, my favorite asshole. No, I'm just kidding, I hate him the most. Goda is the worst, I never want to see his face again. Was I happy that he died? Yeah. For Kumasawa, she got really anxious at the end, and her true feelings came out, but overall she's been very nice. She also tried to diffuse the situation or the tension when things got rough, between the family members and especially between Shannon and Natsuhi. But yeah, and that's why I'm putting her in not asshole. And Beatrice, honestly, the two witches, I have no comment because they really only played a big role at the end. But this is my tier list, my bonus round tier list, and that's all actually. That was fun. That was very fun. And I can't wait for episode 2, so stay tuned. I'm trying to wink. Oh, I can wink now.